Hi everyone, this is episode 46 of the Quick Resume podcast. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Deck, if you haven't been here before. That handsome fella over there, that's Tim.
Hello.
Hi. And we're here today to talk about the weekly Xbox stuff. And mostly this week, it's just a load of drama, really. I mean, half the stories are about PlayStation, and the other half is just like kind of news and speculation. And of course, you know, anything that's left is probably just being sucked up into the power vacuum that is Elden Ring. So we will start with the pleasantries. Tim, we had a lovely weekend together, didn't we? Me and you, very romantic. No one else.
Yeah. I want to disclose that there was other people there, just in case that gets a bit weird and is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
idea.
we all met up. Me and Deck, and some of our I guess they're Xbox friends, right? I mean, that's how we initially met them, but we've known them for a while. We've met up loads of times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we just had ourselves a lovely little weekend of
Before
drinking.
Eurogamer.
I mean,
it was meant to be.
Yeah. The plan was to do Eurogamer, which we do. We try and do every year, as long as it's sort of accessible to us. And it's been in Birmingham the last couple, so it's nice. It's nice and near Deck, so that's why we normally do it. But obviously, Eurogamer got cancelled. But we still just thought, fuck it, let's just meet up anyway. Just get some drinks in and just chat and hang out and stuff. And it was a great time. Yeah, it was a really good time. I'm super crazy tired. I mean, the first night was like 5 a.m. It was just crazy, and then the second night was like 3 a.m. or something like that. So
Yep.
I'm a little bit tired. I'm glad I put the extra day off work today. And yeah. So there hasn't actually been too much. I mean, standard sort of Elden Ring after work and that sort of thing, and then we all met up like early Friday, and then until now that the entire weekend was consumed with that, so we didn't do like any gaming or anything. So
and we watched the Batman as well.
Oh, we did. Yes,
Yeah.
that was actually a really good movie.
That was a
really
big
good.
thumbs up from all of us, I think.
Yeah it was super good. It was, for those of you who obviously look at the runtime and everything, it's a very long movie, but I feel like the pacing is really good. I feel like at no point was I really that bored or felt like the time was going that slowly. And just like the cinematography in that movie was just like really good, like the camera shots and stuff like that.
The lighting,
I felt like
especially.
there were just loads of really good like use of like angles and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not great with explaining this sort of stuff with movies, but it just felt quite artistic the way it was done, as opposed to just like a standard sort of action movie. But
it had like some noir elements going for it, and then it was definitely like a slow burn, and lots of variety in the cinematography. I agree. It's I said this, I'm glad it kind of carved its own path out for a new set of Batman movies, in that it wasn't like fully. It wasn't just a straight up action movie, and I don't say that as a bad thing, obviously, because The Dark Knight is some of the best films like made ever. But they were like action movies, and they were bloody good ones. Whereas these don't feel like straight up action movies; they feel like investigative.
He kind of felt like a detective.
Like detective noir horror, not horror action movie. So I would say like if my barometer for like how I think if someone is going to like this is if they liked how warm they were on Blade Runner 2077 or Dune. I don't think this was that dissimilar. I think it was a bit better than Dune, in terms of its pacing, but I think its style is very similar, in that it's deliberate and slow, with a big emphasis on like symbolic storytelling, over like lots and lots of exposition. But that's funny because I think that, and I spoke to Beth who watched it over the weekend as well, and she was like, "Yeah, they talk too much, over explained everything." I was like, "All right, well, fair enough, I guess." So,
I do think it depends on like the villain as well. I feel like it was quite detective and very investigative and all that sort of stuff because the villain was the Riddler.
Yeah.
I feel like if they use a different villain in a different movie, maybe it'll be a bit more actiony in the next one or something like that. But that sort of style just fits the Riddler, right? It is what it is. The guy's basically a dweeby nerd. And he only wins when he's playing a game, right? So yeah,
I could be the Riddler, I think.
No, I don't know, man. You got more like Bane like features. You're just really strong and hench, you know.
Really? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm doing it for
I
you.
definitely think you
No?
fit that bit a little bit more. No, you can't. You just put your t-shirt over your face. I don't see what's going on here. I can't even see your glasses.
That's what he did, isn't it? That's basically what he did.
Essentially.
Anyway, that was the Batman. Big recommend. I would give it like a 9 overall. I thought it was really that good.
Yeah,
I was really impressed. Yeah, and it was just a good old romp, wasn't it? We had a good old romp.
we did.
And so yeah, we're back really, and we had some time to sort of speak about Elden Ring because that's kind of all we've been playing in a party for like the last week or so. So our parties have just consisted of like 10 seconds of silence and then fuck, god damn it, shit,
Yeah.
fuck. Are you kidding me?
Like, oh. Or just like, oh, nice. Oh, this is cool. Like,
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, it's either just like pure rage or like just pure wonderment. Like,
Yeah. And then after 35 minutes, somebody says, all right, fuck this. One of you boys go and help me.
yeah. Get your fucking fingies down. Yeah.
I saw this really funny meme of, that scene in, I think it is the Fellowship of the Ring where old Bilbo has the ring and he's like looking down at it and he's like, after all, why shouldn't I keep it? I saw this meme of someone being like, maybe I should summon. After all, why shouldn't I summon? Like just outside of Fogwall.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah. On like the 50th attempt. Oh god. So that's been the happening with us, really. We hope you've obviously all had a fabulous week. It's been reasonably quiet, I'd say. Other than like on the Xbox front, we've had some Games Pass news. Phil Spencer went up and claimed his DICE award this week. That happened, and a couple of other stuff like roadmaps and stuff. But like I said, a lot of and I think probably the big thing, to be honest, from Xbox that happened this week was Halo, and the sort of 343 breaking the silence around to season 2 and what's kind of happening there. But we got all of that to talk about. So I mean, I guess I want to kind of do a bit of a check-in. Well, actually, no, I didn't. First thing, I want us to all put our hands together and
no.
make
a
solemn prayer to whatever
I'll leave.
constellation of gods you feel are going to help Tim in this hard time for losing his reward streak of, what was it, 26 or something? His Microsoft reward streak? Look, I'm just trying to help. I want you to grieve and move past this.
It was 21. I got to 21. So I got the big 20 increase.
Yeah.
And then I fucked it because I changed my stupid fucking region for Elden Ring to New Zealand, and it fucked up my time zone, and I lost a day, and then I left it to the last minute because all I was doing was playing Elden Ring, and yeah, I lost it, but I'm over it.
It sounds like it. You sound well over it.
Yeah, I'm over it.
Okay, good.
It's like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to do it anymore. I don't care.
I think you okay. Well,
no, I do care.
I'm on week 46, just to put it out there, which is the same episode as our podcast, which I think is kind of cute.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But other than that, I wanted to kind of check in on just general Elden Ring stuff. Obviously, this game has it's been like a real, I mean, we've already said this, but it has been like a cultural moment. It's been like a real flag in the sand. The zeitgeist is fully in effect. And people are going to be talking about this, where were you when Elden Ring came out? It entered the top 7. I think it was sixth most concurrent game played on Steam ever, and that number's still going up. And I I mean, I'm seeing like decent amount of advertisement for it, but it's not getting like bombarded the same way like Sony exclusives do. Like they pump a lot of money into marketing. Like I see more Horizon advertisement than I do Elden Ring. So to think that a lot of this is like word of mouth is, well, I mean, I guess I say, there's like a virality element to games these days, isn't there? You watch people on Twitch and like YouTube,
especially games like this with the difficulty and stuff like that. People like to watch their favorite streamers like fucking smash their head against the wall. That makes them want to play it and buy it themselves. Like these things sell themselves. Souls games.
Yeah, right. So the game's obviously having like an incredible amount of commercial success right now, which is obviously really good for FromSoft. And I guess I just kind of wanted to check in where we're at now that we've had another week. Like, are we still in the honeymoon phase, or do we think we're over that now? Like, what's happening?
I think I want to say I'm over the honeymoon phase because I am, but it still feels like the honeymoon phase because I'm just still in love with this game.
Yeah.
Like it isn't quite as crazy as before. Like I needed to spend every waking moment on it, but like I just love booting it up and playing it and running around and just picking a direction and going. It's just fantastic. Like I do genuinely think it's probably one of the best games I've ever played. Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, I'm just discovering so much, finding so many new things all the time. Yeah, dude, I just don't even know. Like, it's just crazy to think that like I have so much in my inventory that I kind of want to do builds around or like try something new with already, and I haven't even finished my first playthrough with my chosen build, and it's just like I just don't even know how many times I'm going to play through this game. As it stands, it's kind of crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm still surprised at how big this fucking game is, because like, I mean, if you listen, was it last week? Was last week the first week we spoke about this, or was it the week before? I can't remember. I don't know. Time has become a concept to me. I can't remember.
I think it would have been last week because it came out last. Came out
on a Friday, didn't it? Or Thursday.
It didn't come out last Friday.
Took a little flight to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, like, when we were just in like Limgrave, I was like, the map's big, but it's like not massive. And like, I don't understand how they've. I mean, yes, but like, I don't understand how they've crammed so much stuff into this map. Like, you go into this like any given area, pretty like 8 times out of 10, you go to any given area and you'll find something. And it's not just like an item on the floor, it's like a whole area. Or it's like a dungeon or a catacomb. And like, just today, like, clearly it was one of the directions I was meant to go in. Or like, it looks like it's one of the main directions. But I just found it like at the bottom of a fucking like river. It was like a nothing place. I was like, this is going to be a dead end. There's going to be an item here or two. And then I was like, oh, there's a lift there. Oh, there's a ladder there. All of a sudden, I'm scaling like scaffolding up a mountain. And now I've broken through the other side of the mountain. And there's like a whole different area with like a whole different color palette. And I'm like, how can this happen? How can this be? How can this be? Yeah. Just stuff like that is just so mental.
It is so crazy to me. And it's not just like dead air in a map as well. Like, it's all filled with something. It's really not often you're just running around on like Torrent or something like that and you're just not finding anything to do, or you're not doing anything. Like I feel like you got that a lot in Breath of the Wild. Like, sure, there was a lot to do on that map, but then you also did spend a lot of it just kind of running around sometimes, or like just stuff just really just wasn't worth your time, whatever it was. Like, I'm not going to kill a camp of goblins for 5 arrows, but like, this is just, I don't know, man. There's just so much. It's so big. It keeps going, and then there's just always something worth your time as well. Yeah. And I don't understand it.
I don't understand it. How long have they been developing this game for? 50 years? Like, I don't understand. How can this have been made in a normal development cycle? I just don't understand. Because apparently FromSoft have an A team and a B team, and supposedly Elden Ring development actually started before Sekiro. So Sekiro came out like 2019. 2019? 2018? 2019. I think it was
2018.
2018, do you think? Okay.
I think so.
So supposedly Elden Ring started before even Sekiro started. So then Sekiro started afterwards, and because it's a smaller project, not small by any means, but it's still finished in time. Or before, well before Elden Ring even came out. So, it must have been like, we're talking sort of 6 years, which is like a big AAA cycle, but like could have been longer. And it wouldn't surprise me because it's just there's so much. And it's not even just like map space, because it's easy to like look at a map and be like, this game is so big, but it's not like, the density. I'm not just talking about surface area or like volume or topography or density. Like in terms of the sheer amount of shit in the game, like the weapons, the animations. I don't know if I've ever seen so many different animations in a single game. Like, from your character, from like enemies, it's just bewildering. And the fact that all of the like Souls asymmetric multiplayer is built into that to just like kind of enhance it as well. It's just bonkers. Like, it really is crazy how much is in this game, and I think it's going to spoil a lot of games for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure, man. It almost feels like a Borderlands Infinite generator sometimes for like just the weapons you can pick up. Like it's so crazy that I'm like, I'm probably like 40 hours in at this point, and I'm still finding new categories of spells and incantations and stuff like that. And that's just a category.
Yeah.
There's probably like 20 spells within that category. I'm still finding categories. Like, and I'm like, what does this even scale with? And it's just like, oh, well, this one's like arcane and faith, and this one's faith and intelligence. And it's just like, sometimes it's too much.
You're just constantly finding something new.
Yeah, it's exhausting. I like find a cool new spell, and I'm like, it's so fucking cool. But like, Jesus Christ, dude. I don't even know where to go with this.
Yeah,
but it's just incredible, man. I'm just having such a good time with it, and I kind of just all I want to do is play it. I don't even really want to be here right now.
That's understandable. You just want to be in the lands between.
God.
I just they've really like stepped up like sorcery and magic in general, like in terms of how it's integrated, and just the amount of it. There's so much of it. It's so much more like interesting and varied. And I guess because there was something I wanted to speak about which isn't at all related to magic, but just I guess maybe a few things. But like the first thing is like usually if a game is this long, I'd be complaining by now. But just because everything is knocked out the park so like fantastically, like I'm just not bored yet, and I feel like there's still so much to do. And I'm going to like the game gives you so much novelty, and I think like the flip side of that, when I think about like something like Halo Infinite, which was like I loved that campaign. It was good for different reasons. Like I think most games are good because they give you like a narrative front and center. They give you a narrative to follow. Obviously, Halo Infinite has some like wonderful gameplay, but it was like essentially two biomes. There was like a Forerunner structures, and then there was like Pacific Northwest, which was like a variety of like trees or like burnt down tree areas, and then mixed in structures and whatnot. And that was fine for what it was, because it was a condensed, compact experience that wrapped up in like I think it took me like 14, 15 hours. If that had dragged on for like another 5 hours, I'd have been like, Elden Ring, I'm finding a new environment. Still, I mean, I must be at like the 40-hour mark now. Like every like 5 hours or so, like a brand new environment. And I'm like, there's just novelty so often. And that's kind of crazy to me, because like I spoke about this idea before of like, what I really respect about this idea, this type of game design where you follow your nose, is that it's very much heavy on that idea of like intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic. And that's what I think makes narrative driven games so enticing for people, is that you keep playing because you are interested to see what happens next, not because you want to get another axe which has +2 like damage.
Yeah.
And Elden Ring expands that idea beyond the narrative, and it's like, what's beyond that tower over there? What's that item that's dangling off the cliff that I can't? And like every step of the way, I feel like it's designed to not just like mechanically in game make you interested to want to go there, but also because the art of the world is directed so well, it's like I kind of want to see what I can see from up there. Or like, the game signposts you to like a fork in the road. You're like, man, this looks absolutely stunning. And and most people are going to have that moment because of the way, and I've used this I've used this word before, because of the way that the game signposts you to particular points of interest. And so you get there and you have these moments of like having a bit of introspection and saying like, like, wow, that looks cool. And then, oh, wow, look at that over there. I'm going to go there now. And you do that because you see it and you think that's interesting. You don't do that because you think, look at that orange bar, which denotes a legendary sword. Like that's what I mean. And like, it gives you that you want to do it because you want to do it, not because the game's saying you should.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't even tell you the amount of times. I mean, pretty much every time I scale something or get to a cliff edge or somewhere high or just somewhere new, I just take my time just to look around and look off the edge and just see what I can see. And,
Yeah.
and even if there's no point of interest, just to be like, hey, I was down there 30 minutes ago. That's kind of cool. Now I'm up here and I'm in this new area, that sort of thing. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just pure discovery, isn't it? And adventure at the end of the day. And it just makes it so easy just to push on. Just not necessarily to be like, oh, there must be a boss at the end of here that has like a cool weapon for me, but just to be like,
what is it?
I just wonder what's through that door. Like, is that just like, is it gonna be like a new forest area, or is it gonna be like, or a boss? I don't know, or something like that. It's just that not knowing is what drives you just to keep going. And yeah, man, it's crazy good. Yeah,
it's the fact that the game trains you from like minute one of like, don't know what's around that corner, do you? Better have a look.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll go around a corner and you'll find nothing but rocks and a message. And that's the thing. That's where like the asymmetric multiplayer comes in a little bit, because you'll see a message that just says like finger butthole or something, and there'll be nothing else there, and you'll be like, well, fine, But like, it just creates this cool effect where like, even if there's no like in-game item, at least you have a shared experience with someone else of like, I've gone here and there's nothing here, and someone else has said something, and so there is something.
You still get a chuckle out of it, just by reading a message that says like disappointment ahead or something like that, and it's just like a dead end. Like, that still doesn't feel like wasted time, because you get a chuckle out of it and you still explored that corner that you wanted to. But yeah.
And I think this is one of the things that like makes that pivot into open world design so good for Souls games, because, and I think like the more I think about it, because I've been thinking about it more, especially just because I'm pretty sure when you go into New Game Plus for Souls games, you typically keep everything, don't you? Like all your weapons, all your spells.
Mm-hmm.
None of this shit would be nearly. I would get quite demotivated if there was like an inventory weight system. I know there's weight, but that's based on what's equipped. But you can pick everything up in the game and have it in your backpack. Imagine if that wasn't there.
Suck.
And you had to go to a grade, transfer it to a toolbox, and I like, because it's funny, because FromSoft are like very hit and miss with like quality of life. But this is one of the things I've got right from the outset with Souls. Like, it's never been a thing. Just, if you find it, it's yours forever, and it won't impact the way you want to play. And it's just, I think this is one of the things that I think I didn't find as captivating with Breath of the Wild. Yes, I know I'm making the comparison again, but I know if I go to that chest, I'm going to find a weapon which is like, it doesn't, and there's no weight management, but it's gonna, it's finite. That's the difference, right? It's finite. Whereas if I pick something up, I'm like, this is something else that I can add to this mixing pot of like builds at some point in the future, and that's kind of like exciting.
For sure. Yeah, because there was that whole thing in Breath of the Wild where you found a really cool weapon and you just held on to it because you didn't want to use it, because you didn't feel like the scenario was right. You didn't want to waste the health on it or whatever, because nothing lasts forever in that game. And you just don't get that here, and it's just such a better. It's so much better, the system for just keeping it like that. And like you said, it's just yours forever. You can use it whenever you want. You can respec into it later. You can use it in your Game Plus if you want. You technically don't even have to touch it for another 100 hours of gameplay. But when you want it, it's there. And yeah, I mean, it's perfect in my opinion. They've done it with every single Souls game, and I've loved it every single time, because it just gives the freedom to the player. And again, it just feels like you're never wasting your time as well, because eventually you're going to get around to doing a build with most of the stuff in there. So even if right now you do all that dungeon, you come out with a sorcery spell, it's like, well, I'm a strength build. It's just like, well, you're not going to be a strength build later, so you're going to want that later, So just it helps that nothing feels like wasted time, sort of element. So
And there's no inventory limit either, which I guess was kind of the other point, because one of the things
yeah,
that really annoyed me about Breath of the Wild, like you had
you
to
have to
find like the
drop
broccoli
stuff.
head
Yeah.
little boy and whatever, and I could have like looked up where to find and farm like seeds and whatever, but it's like I don't know, that always kind of annoyed me because it was like I have limited space to actually get these weapons that I'm already demotivated to get because there's a lot of copy pasting and they're finite. Whereas in
Yeah.
Souls, they're just like, nope, just pretend that doesn't exist. That part is all magical. Like, and it's not remotely immersion breaking. I don't pick up a sword and be like, oh, I shouldn't be able to carry this dead game. Like I'm perfectly fine with compromising that for the immersion that having all of this accessible to me in game creates. Like, does it really help if I have to, like I say, go to the graves, put it back in the chest, or take it back out? Like, I don't think that just creates like unnecessary hassle. It doesn't really add anything. I know there's a place for that in some like more sim heavy experiences. I get that, but I'm just so glad that none of that is here because it just creates such a frictionless experience in like reviewing your build, seeing what you want to do next, having a look at like what you could do, and that's like part of the excitement.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, immersion breaking or not, which it isn't, by the way. Yeah, it's absolutely fine the way it is. It would trigger me super hard if I had to store stuff and retrieve stuff and from Graces all the time. So yeah.
I think it's just like final thing on the topic from me, just because it's been something I've been thinking about because it's something I remember that I said in an earlier episode, like way back when I was playing Fallout 4, and we spoke about the idea of like a silent protagonist. And I remember saying that I kind of feel like we're kind of past that. But this is interesting because I don't feel like giving voice lines to your Tarnish would add anything. So I kind of, and you obviously you just act as a vessel to experience the world, which I guess is what a lot of those older games, like back in the 2000s, did as well. Like you could argue, like I still feel. I'm not going to say Chief because Chief is a character. I get that it's meant to be more of a blank like template, but like Fallout 3, for example, was the comparison we were talking about at the time because they made Fallout 4 a voiced character. Fallout 3 wasn't, and in the same sense, that allowed you to be a vessel through the world and the decisions that you made. So like, I kind of feel like I might be wrong. I don't know, like because maybe this is just. I don't know if this is just a Souls thing. I don't know. It's yet to be seen, but I'm definitely questioning myself now. I'm like, maybe that was just something that was really popular at the time, and it's gone out of, it's just not popular anymore, and because of that, I just have become a bit less like tolerant of it. And now, because that this is happening here, like I'm not at all noticing the fact that my Tarnish is not speaking. Like I don't feel like that would really add anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah, I don't think it would add anything at all. I think it's just it does depend on the game though. This and Souls games in general, just they tell so much story through environment and just through the bosses you face by design and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily, and your character has body language too. You see him in the third person in cutscenes and stuff like that.
And you have a voice.
When bosses come in. Yeah, exactly.
Like grunting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you grunt and you
Death
scream
noises.
and cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, but I don't know. There's just like this element of just you're kind of just like this undead thing that's kind of just been brought back to life to do a job, and you're just kind of getting on with it. Like you don't need to just be like, you don't need to have a voice. I don't know. And I do. It's very dependent on the game, I think. And I think it'd be weird if your character had a voice in this game. And it's like you do ask questions and stuff like that, like you do talk to characters like Gideon at the round table,
with
and you're like,
text.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then he talks to you, so it kind of does. You can kind of imagine your character saying that and just be like, oh, what about this? And then he tells you about it. So that there is input there sometimes, but there's just not. I don't know, and there's not much dialogue either. It's not often you're just sitting there staring at an NPC like in Fallout, and it's just reciting dialogue at you over and over and over. It's like a few lines, just some cryptic ass shit, and then you just get on with your journey, right? It's just, I don't know, it's just different.
It is
but
different.
yeah, it's not needed 100%.
It is different, and like, you know, we a lot of people are like having this conversation now of like, oh, like, is this going to impact, or I guess, you know, how, you know, maybe it's inevitable, how is this going to impact like other games going forward or influence? And I think that's one of the biggest things, this kind of, I think, reliant or creating very little friction between like gameplay and dialogue. Like in Elden Ring, and I know Elden Ring isn't the first game to do this, but it just goes really nicely. Oh, sorry, I'm getting called, so it's just thrown my computer.
That's fine.
Am I still here? Can you hear me?
You're still here. You're still here. You're still here.
God, what was I saying? What was I saying?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest.
Excellent. Wicked.
You threw me off. Anyway, I was going to... I'll chime in. You good?
Yeah, no, I just remembered. I was saying about having... Elden Ring is not the first game to do that, where you don't have like friction between gameplay and like dialogue. And I'm interested to see if other games will sort of pick up on that and let that kind of like that be like the principle that guides the gameplay, because you know, sometimes you do get this in games, don't you, where you just want to move around, you want to have that agency, and sometimes like it whips the camera away and you're like, ugh. It's something I noticed happened a lot in Psychonauts 2, and it can be really annoying. Like, I don't have to be, I can still move around here, but I guess you know, it's pros and cons game, and it is, like you said, it's just different. Elden Ring is not, none of the Soul games are like narrative first games, I would say. Say they're gameplay first games, and there is story around that. And I think that's just an interesting angle.
Yeah, I also think it kind of, I think the custom character comes into play a lot with having a voice or not as well. I feel like games and RPGs that don't have a custom character, they force you to play somebody. I think those work better when they have voice acting, but I just find it weird when you create a character and you can make him look so fucked. You can make them look so weird, and then they've just got like male voice A, and then in cutscenes they're just like die, man. And it's just like in Outriders, it was weird. It didn't work. Like, I would have rather have had a silent protagonist in Outriders. But then you look at something like Witcher, and it's just like, mate, imagine if you were silent, like Geralt was silent in The Witcher, he just didn't speak. Like, there's just certain contexts where it works and it doesn't. And I feel like when the game gives you a character, doesn't make you create one, I feel like that works better with an in-game voice, rather than, I think custom characters, create your own characters. I think those sort of games work better when they're silent protagonists. I feel like it's weird when they have a voice.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with Elden Ring and sort of the discussion of kind of how that's going. But we're interested to hear how you guys are finding it as well. So, you know, let us know in the comments. Yeah. So is that? Oh, I suppose because this was kind of one of the first stories. So, you know, and it was just a small thing, but it was kind of weird that like some developers from Ubisoft, as well as Guerrilla Games, developers of Horizon, had a tweet thread being a little bit salty about the success of Elden Ring. Yeah, and I don't know, like, I guess to a degree it's because Elden Ring is being held up as like kind of the mascot boy for like the new style of the Neo the Neo open world game. So, like, just to read a couple of the comments out here, the fact that Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game UX. My life is a lie. Nor PC graphics, stability, and performance, apparently. Nor quest design, really. So that was 3 different developers.
Okay.
Which I think they all subsequently got deleted. But that seems a bit weird to be getting pissy about Elden Ring.
It's a bit weird, right? And I think we've already said it's definitely it's the style of RPG. Like, some RPGs are just suited to have a quest design, to have a quest journal. You read about it, you go to a point, you do it. It works good in Assassin's Creed and stuff like that, and it works fine for like Horizon and everything like that. The way Elden Ring is built, if you were to just slap that on the top of a Horizon formula, I don't know if it would work, or like a God of War formula. So it's just like, there's no need to be salty about it. It's just like, yeah, the quest design's different in Elden Ring. That's not a problem. It just suits the game. That's not saying that they think quest design should only be done this way, and anyone who does quest design in a different way is doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know, just quit being such a salty little bitch. Like, I don't know. That's really what it comes down to. And game UX, like UX being the user experience. I don't understand.
It was like HUD, I think.
There's plenty of stuff going on in the HUD in Elden Ring. I actually think the HUD is fantastic. It's actually quite well designed in terms of hotkeying items, weapon equip, weapon swap, the new item pouch mechanic, and then obviously your standard health and all that sort of stuff in the top. I think the HUD is actually not cluttered, but actually offers a lot to the user in terms of information and stuff like that. So I don't know what that's about, but
yeah, it's a fair point. But I guess like because a lot the game does most of its communication through shit in game. Like, the only example I can think of is like, when you find those weird like hunch statues and you click on them and they show you like a beam of where, like, it doesn't pop up on your HUD and say cave discovered, and then there's like a waypoint on your compass and it's like a side quest log. But it's like that whole. I assume that that's maybe the angle. Because some people do play Souls games and do, like, maybe who don't have the same sort of game sense, or, and maybe it's just not for them, do find that like there isn't enough information. Like, it's just a bit obtuse for some people sometimes, and I think Souls can do that sometimes. I don't feel like that. Yeah. I would say that's mostly not been my experience so far in Elden Ring, but I guess that's the angle. But nonetheless, like, bitching about it on Twitter is kind of maybe not the way to go.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's a really weird angle to take. It's just like, just carry on working on your art, man. There's no need to rip out someone else's art. Like, just stop.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about Horizon, isn't there? Which everyone's been speaking about this over the last few weeks. The fact that the first Horizon released within a week of Breath of the Wild got overshadowed, and now the second one's released within a week of Elden Ring got overshadowed.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that, but I mean, the game's still selling like hotcakes and it's still getting reviewed fantastically. So is it really getting overshadowed? And like, I don't know. Would it have made much of a difference if Elden Ring just came out a little bit later? At the end of the day, it's a single platform that Horizon gets released on. There's only a certain amount that it's actually going to sell in comparison to a multi-pack game anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, that's just being a bit salty.
Yeah, I mean, it has, for sure, it has taken some like spotlight. I guess that's the biggest thing. Like, has it impacted sales? Like, I mean, maybe, but the first Horizon sold like big numbers, and this one will sell big numbers.
I feel like anyone who enjoyed the first Horizon is going to buy the second Horizon, regardless of Elden Ring coming out. They're going to buy it.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right. And yeah, so I mean, Horizon will be fine, but I guess that's the biggest thing, is that it has, without a doubt, taken conversation away from it. Like, Elden Ring is probably going to be, like, I'm already willing to say it's going to be the most discussed game of the year. And I say that as someone who is like already like I've been buzzing about Starfield for a long time now. I think Elden Ring is still going to have the most conversation about it. So yeah, in that sense, I think it probably has taken the conversation away. But in terms of sales, I think it'll be fine. Has it impacted it? Maybe a little bit, but I think it'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I think so.
Lovely. Okay, well, we're done with Elden Ring. 40 minutes in. Great.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so Sony had a big first-party exclusive come out this week in Gran Turismo 7. It came out to an 88 Metacritic, which is like seems to be Sony's like go-to score at the moment, which is obviously bloody fantastic score. 88 was the same for Horizon. I think Deathloop was also 88, and something else was as well. Maybe was Returnal? Maybe Returnal wasn't that high. I can't remember. But anyway, so nonetheless, big congrats to Polyphony. That is obviously a brilliant score, and do you know what? I think it's good to see other publishers getting back in the race, because Forza's just been like the dominant racer for a while. And while Gran Turismo 7 is like very simmy, it's it's like the Forza Motorsport, sort of thing. So yeah, it's good to see more in that. Even if they aren't for me, it's good to see more in that area for the people out there who enjoy that. But the main point of the story really is that just like how we spoke about last week with Horizon Forbidden West, people went absolutely fucking nuts because there were a couple of sites who gave it like a 3.3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10, whatever. And it's just I have like repeatedly said that I think reviews are important, and that's that's becoming an unpopular opinion. I like aggregate reviews. I like Metacritic scores. But like obsessing over a point-to-point differences is like... And like people go nuts and like tweet at reviewing websites like calling them fucking idiots and everything. And it's like, I mean, like the game's still got 88. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What do you want?
Yeah, it's just petty, isn't it? I mean, sure, I care about these overall scores, like you said, and especially when it comes to something like Halo. And I'm pretty bummed out, I guess, if some people would just like, some websites were just like clickbaiting and just giving it like a 6 out of 10, dragging the score down, trying to get more clicks in the article. And, I can see that, and I'm like, oh, it's annoying. Let's drag Halo down to an 84, or something like that. But like, yeah, I wouldn't rage about it. I wouldn't be petty about it. I wouldn't start throwing insults at people about it. It's just like, I don't know. It just is what it is, man. It's still a great score. It's still a great game. And at the end of the day, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder anyway. Just fucking buy it and play it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
Who cares about the masses sometimes?
Well, I mean, yeah, that definitely. Like, if it piques your interest, by all means. But because that's... It's just like list wars shit, because like at the end of the day, someone's just going to put together a bunch of numbers and say like platform X, platform Y, 88, 87, 85, 84, and it's like, what are we accomplishing here? Like, and I think for the most part, it's probably
getting under people's skin.
Exactly. It's just like, why are we so antagonistic? And it's for the most part, I don't think outlets put in bad scores for no good reason, because they'll get barred. Like, and that is another story that we will. In actual fact, we might as well go over it now. And it's coming off the back of the Horizon score. So Stevivor, which is one of Australia's, or I think it's Australia's most read independent game site, seems to have been blacklisted by Sony after a moderate Horizon review, which is really weird. And there were also a couple of make of it what you will. There were a couple of Xbox-centric reviewers who I know didn't get review codes for Horizon. So when we say blacklisted, we just mean that they're not going to they haven't gotten a review code. And so Stevivor also didn't get a review code for Gran Turismo either. So this is like, it's intentional. This isn't a mistake. And they can still put a review out after the embargo. But by that point, most people have made their decisions and made the sale based on the number that goes up. So it just raises this whole conversation around like, what is an okay time for a publisher to intervene and decide this reviewer is no longer should be taken seriously.
I don't know. It is kind of a hard question. I mean, what spurred this on anyway? What was the kind of review they gave Horizon or whatever that created this reaction?
It was essentially just because it was a 6.5.
Okay, it's pretty. It is fairly low, but I don't know. I guess it just comes down to consistency and judging whether or not it is malicious or not. Like, I mean, I really don't know. It's so hard to actually tell and to actually take action on something like this, because at the end of the day, it's just it's somebody's opinion, and their opinion might not, quite be exactly what everyone else's is or something like that. I mean, it depends on how drastic it is, right?
Yeah.
If it's like an insane different score than like other people's, and it's pretty clear they're doing it for attention or something like that, and there's like a clear pattern of them doing this in the past as well with previous games, and like a clear pattern of being biased between platforms, then sure, I think action should be taken, right? I don't know if there is between these guys. Like, is it pretty obvious that if you were to like separate Xbox and Sony titles, like, are they giving Sony titles on average 2 to 3 points less than every reviewer and upping Xbox platform ones?
Well,
I don't know. Is that the case?
This is what fanboys started doing. They started putting like cherry picking lists together, which but I think like again, like you're getting into a difficult territory here, because now like Sony make reasonably games that share the same DNA, and if you don't like that DNA, it's fair to say that those games are going to get rated lower. But so people have put a list together here. Like, for example, Survivor has given Flight Sim 9.5, Ori 9, Gears 5 9, Psycho 2 9. Goes back as far as Quantum Break, somebody has as a 9. Forza Motorsport 8.5. And then they've listed a bunch of PlayStation games. On the lower end, Forbidden West was 6.5, Zero Dawn 7, Ghost of Tsushima 7, Uncharted Legacy, I think is that DLC 7, God of War 8, The Last of Us 2 8, Ratchet and Clank was a 9, and then so that it's like cherry picking shit, because then other people have responded to that and like pulled out like the really good reviews where that site has given. Bearing in mind, this is I'm assuming this is like different reviewers and different editors. Like, it's not always the same person.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Miles Morales 95, The Last of Us 10, Uncharted 4 95, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart 90, Spider-Man 95, Dreams 90. So it's like, this clearly isn't the case, and I just, like you said, if he'd come out with a 2, I'd feel like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But 6.5, I've played 6.5s that I've enjoyed, And like, yeah, that's the thing. You get into tricky territory when you start deciding who can and can't review your games before launch, because it's like, and that's the thing. I guess this kind of, because it does annoy me a little bit, because I think Sony clearly know that their fan base really are passionate about about Metacritic numbers, or at least the vocal minority on Twitter. And they really play into that. They do whatever they can to make sure there are higher numbers there, because they know that that's kind of their angle. It gives them that kind of premium angle, and it keeps like fanboy conversations going on Twitter. And it does. I know it's more of a business move than it is like necessarily like a social one, but it does rub me the wrong way a bit, because it's like, it just incites like silly bullshit like this, like silly drama that we really don't need at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's actually quite silly, especially looking at those sort of comparisons that these people have broken down. I don't see anything that outrageous in there, to be honest. I mean, maybe like the Demon Souls being a 7.5 and God of War: The Last of Us 2 being 8s, still fantastic scores. But these are,
it's like 10 or nothing to these people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima maybe seems fairly harsh, but 7 is still a pretty great score, and it's not like Ghost of Tsushima like broke ground, with like new mechanics and stuff like that. Like it did do a lot of stuff that other games have done as well, just with a really nice coat of paint on it, a great story, a great world, and stuff like that. But it didn't completely reinvent the genre or anything like that. So a 7 is still a great score. Like nothing here is screaming out as absolutely outrageous to me, to be brutally honest.
Exactly.
But
so, like, overall, like, I am, like, keeping a bit of an eye on this, because, and it's not like, I'm not going to pretend like Sony's the only organization to have done this. Like, Bethesda had a well-known blacklist with, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was Kotaku or something, after one of their games. I can't remember many of the details, but I remember Bethesda caught a lot of heat, like, many years ago for doing, like, a similar thing after something. Don't know the exact details, and I remember them catching a lot of shit for that then. And, I would be probably saying the same thing if the same thing happened here for Xbox. I think I just think it's kind of crazy, especially when like 6.5 is a pretty good score. But hey ho, and I guess
it's not atrocious.
Yeah, it's not atrocious exactly. And I guess maybe if you've come to expect that the average Sony AAA PlayStation game is going to be 85 plus Metacritic rather than a good game, like if you're willing to accept that those are two different constructs, then like, yeah, you're going to see 6.5 and be like, wow, this is 20 points lower than I expected. Something must be wrong here. Like, so this is why we have aggregate scores, right? This is so, like, in the grand scheme of things, even if you took away this score from Metacritic, it's still going to be 88. Which is a good score. Yeah. It's just like,
it's a fantastic score. Yeah,
what a bell curve is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the scheme of things, it's a fucking drop of rain in the ocean, isn't it? Like, just chill out.
Yeah.
Like,
don't even get me started.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean, there are games before where I've seen some like real ridiculous shit. Like, I still remember to this day Quantum Break, getting like 3 to 4 to 5. 4 out of 10s or 3 out of 10s, and it's like, the fuck's that? Like, like, the fuck's that? Like, that seems, because that was like, I think there were a couple of games like early in the Xbox One generation that, and like, this, because everyone's biased, so to some degree, if there is like negativity in the air around Xbox, some of that might seep into your review. Your general feeling of vibes about a game playing it on a console, which generally isn't feeling good to you, or like the company is fucked up. Like, yeah, you're only human, but that doesn't mean that you can't view it through a lens of like, that seems a little bit harsh. But I don't see that same excuse here with Sony. Sony is still like selling like PS5s like hotcakes. They're still commercially doing very, very well. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
So I guess it is a different story, but it kind of does wrap into the same point around this kind of, I'm going to say, shadiness with PlayStation and review scores, and that is that Gran Turismo 7, having just come out, added microtransactions after launch, expensive ones, $40 cars we're talking about here, and I think.
Sure.
And I'm not even, I know some people see the word microtransaction and like immediately go into like ape mode, like proper like silverback, but I don't. I think it does get a bit dubious when we're talking about expensive microtransactions in a full price game. That's different to like free to play. The thing I'm really not liking here is adding shit after launch, and I'm pretty sure early on in the show, like way back, we spoke about the idea of like COD doing this, and I hate this, man. I hate people, like, I hate devs keeping, or I guess whoever's decision it is, publishers, whatever, keeping shit out of the game that they know is going to negatively affect it critically, and then popping it in after all the reviews have come in. I hate that shit. Yes. It's just so dishonest. It's so annoying. It's like, look, if you need to monetize it, then that needs to be something that we can look at with a critical eye, because somebody's going to buy this game, maybe like see the reviews, that maybe haven't been updated, and they're not going to think that a lot of stuff is like, oh, I can play this car in Gran Turismo 7. Oh no, I can't. It's in the store for $40. And this, like I said, this is not. Sony is the latest one to have done this with this game, and I think it's the first time they've done anything like this actually. But I don't. This in principle is my problem of adding stuff just after reviews have dropped. I think it's really super scummy.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely couldn't agree more. It's just like you said, it's just dishonest, isn't it? It's kind of just like, yeah, you're just kind of holding your cards until everything's out on the table, and you're like, okay, yeah, we're kind of happy with this now. Boom, and then they just drop it, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like if you're planning something like that, you either have to make people aware that microtransactions are coming, or just like, I guess maybe just hold them for a little bit longer as well. But because literally doing it like a day or two after launch or after review embargoes is just like, it's so obvious their intention was to just not skew the review scores with this sort of stuff. So it's just like, I mean, just is it? Can you not just hold it like 2 months or 3 months, and that you get a lot less heat for it or something, or like, or just make people aware that this is happening. I don't know how you do that pre-launch, but yeah, because it's pretty obvious that these sort of cars obviously could have been in the game. They were made for the game, made for launch or whatever, and then they just cut it out, fucking pair of scissors, and then just put a price tag on it. And then they wait for reviews to drop. Yeah, it's pretty horrible, man. Yeah, it's quite scummy.
And yeah, and this is my.
There's definitely better ways you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't inherently hate microtransactions, but when people are just trying to pull the wool over your eyes, that's what I hate more. It's that concept.
Exactly, like drop it all together as like a bundle in season 2, or like, whatever it is. Like, make it actually like sweeten the deal a bit. Don't just make it like, woo, phew, those haven't affected like, 88 fellas. We got 88. Like,
yeah. Or just create them as like the gold editions, like the silver or gold editions of the game or something like that. Like right off the bat, people can purchase these things and be fully aware of it by the edition of the game they choose or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That makes it a little bit better, I guess. But
yeah, and this is like kind of like the wider point again of like the kind of obsession, like with these aggregate review scores and PlayStation playing into it. I feel because they fully well know, rather than being upfront about what will be in the game, it's like, nope, let's just hold it back, get the good reviews, and then we'll put it in. We'll catch the negativity afterwards, but it won't matter because the majority of people are just going to list wars, like Metacritic scores, and it's like that shit doesn't fly with me. And like, you won't see me letting anybody like get away with this. Like back in the day, like Activision did this all the time with COD, and I will be pissed if they continue with any sort of this sort of practice when they inevitably sort of fall under Xbox. Like, it's just not cool. And that's aside from the fact that it's an expensive microtransaction in a full price game. Like, that's already like on the edge for me.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It would definitely spur me on to do like an instant review update on my site or my platform, and just be like, alert, they've just added this shit, not necessarily dragging down the score, but anyone who clicks or watches the video from that point is fully aware that this is a thing, sort of thing. And then they can maybe drag it down a point or two, and then that updates on their Metacritic aggregate score. But then, like you said, at that point it's too late. They've sold their copies, the embargo's gone, people have hit that pre-order button based on that day or two. The review came out before launch, so
exactly. And it's one of those things that I've said before about the games industry. Is just like, it doesn't seem well regulated in a lot of these things. Like the fact that this isn't, like, it would be ridiculous if this happened with a movie, right? You pay full price for a movie and you read the reviews. It's like, 2.5 hours long of like this, that, and the other. And then you go to watch it and it's actually only an hour and a half. And they're like, yeah, what was originally in it is actually just going to be a Disney Plus series now. We changed our mind. Like, I wouldn't fly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually see how that would be legal. Or, like, same thing, we made the comparison about like buying a meal, right? You know, you go to a restaurant and they're like, "Oh, this is an excellent meal. It comes with this, that, and the other." And then you buy it, and they're like, "Ah, well, you know, actually, we'll give you the rest in a little bit, and you've got to pay again for it." You know, so I just don't see how this shit kind of flies, but nonetheless, it does, and that's how it is. And I think I've always said that one of the things that we can do, one of the things that the industry can do, to combat this is to be a bit more fluid with reviews, update them more. And I understand this requires more manpower, but update reviews more. Maybe we need to get more comfortable with the idea of having like revisiting a game like a week after launch, like just two points of entry. You know, the initial embargo lifting review, and then the 1 week after update. And that sort of stuff will disincentivize this. Like you said, it won't stop the fact that reviews and numbers will already be up, but at least it gives some fluidity to it, and disincentivizes that sort of behavior.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do think as these things keep happening or whatever, I think regulations will eventually be put in place and things will be looked at. But it has taken its time, and lots of games have done this, so it's hard to say exactly when. But like you said, it just comes to a point where you got to stand together as a fan base, as a unit, and just, you know, because the same shit happened with Battlefront 2, right? The user ended up winning that war, so
Star Wars,
the stuff got removed. Yeah. Remember that when they released with like the insane microtransactions and everyone just went up in arms, and they completely reverted it, and they completely, you know, gave the power back to the user and stuff like that. So, you know, I feel like stuff like that needs to be done, to get these things in check and to put these companies in check a little bit, because it's just dishonest, right? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully, I think that's our PlayStation segment for this week.
But nonetheless, a lot of PlayStation this week.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like a lot of drama stuff, but I mean, nonetheless, hopefully everybody's if anybody's out there with PlayStation listening, hopefully you're enjoying your time with Gran Turismo 7. And I hope we see some, even though again not for me, but I hope we see more Forza Motorsport 8 soon. Yeah, hopefully we see that this year as well.
Yeah, I think it's 8. Yeah.
All right. Next up, then, really, it was the Games Pass editions for this month, and I'm sure you've already heard, but the sort of the main title here is Guardians of the Galaxy, which I and I'm sure a lot of other people thought at some point was going to make its way to Games Pass. It seems like the perfect game, right? Bit of a sleeper hit. Critically did well. Commercially fell under Square Enix's expectations, like every fucking game does. But that's pretty big. I like that. I like this a lot.
I feel like it fell under expectations because of fucking the shitstorm that was Avengers that came before.
A little bit, but I don't think the marketing was that good either, though. It didn't, I don't know, it didn't make it look particularly, I don't know. I remember watching the marketing and trying to go in with an open mind, and I was still like, this isn't doing anything for me. So yeah, I kind of know what you mean. What turned my eye towards it and thought, oh, maybe I'll buy this, was solely the review scores and the fact that it was a bit of a sleeper hit, not so much the marketing. But yeah, man, it's yeah, you did call this. You did say that it would be on Games Pass relatively soon in its life cycle, so it's pretty hype, man. You know, I think hopefully it's still there for a period of time, that when I feel like taking maybe a day's break from Elden Ring, just maybe, I'll boot this up and play it. So, but it's hard to say how long these games will be on Games Pass for. So, yeah, usually it's for a while.
Get it on download and give it a play. Yeah, they're normally on there for at least like 4 months, like at least like a third of the year, or something like that. They're on for quite a while normally. But yeah, it is pretty hype, and I think I will play it because it looks fun, and I like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, agreed. Alongside that, there was also Flight Simulator for Cloud, which that finally happened, because we've been talking about the idea of like cloud and what cloud can do for a while, and this was like one of the first things that we were like, oh, that's like cool tech. That's like a cool tech potential. So that means not just cloud on your phone, but it means cloud streaming to like Xbox Ones. And if you don't already know, Flight Sim can only be played on the new Series X and S. So if you ever wanted to, you could now stream it to your Xbox One, which I think is going to become. I think that's really that this addition to Games Pass this month is really indicative of the direction Xbox is going. I think for the most part, most AAA productions from Xbox from now are only going to be next gen that we know of. They've said Redfall is next gen only. They've said that Starfield is next gen only. We're expecting maybe one or two indies that might be exclusive, or not indies, but smaller games. Josh Sawyer's from like smaller game from Obsidian is maybe expected this year. Pentiment, and maybe that other one when Dusk Falls, maybe that one as well. I expect those ones to still be cross-gen, but I would say the AAA ones from this point, and if they can get them straight into Cloud Games Pass on day one as well, I think that's a pretty big success.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's it's that whole just inclusive thing that I think Xbox is just going for, isn't it? Where it's just like you can kind of, you don't need the latest hardware or anything like that, or if you don't have the money or chip shortage, you can't get your hand on one. You can just sort of play these on whatever you want, and it'd kind of be interesting to see what games make their way to it and actually how much better they perform, sort of thing. I know what you mean, like when you were saying everything's like will be next gen exclusive anyway, but it would just be interesting to say, like, if you're playing it on a Xbox One X, like Elden Ring on an Xbox One X, but you can also cloud play the game, are you better off actually just playing it on your Xbox One X, because it is made for it as well, or are you actually better off playing it from the cloud, right? Do you get a better experience that way? So I think it'll be quite interesting to see, even between games that are made for both platforms, whether or not cloud option will be the more superior option anyway. But
no, it's a good point, because I mean they're all running on Series X blades now, I believe. I'm not sure how it. I'm not sure if it scales. Like I don't know if you're playing on a 1S, if it goes from a Series S server blades, or if they're just all Series X. I really can't remember. So it means you get like good loading times and things like that. But obviously it comes with things like artifacting and input delay that you do get with cloud gaming. That's a great point. So just to top off the rest of the games that are coming for the month as well, we've got Far Changing Tides, which actually looks delightful. Kentucky Route Zero, I think that says Young Souls. I've got Lightning Returns. Is that a Final Fantasy?
Yeah, it's Final Fantasy. It's the third one in the Final Fantasy 13 series.
Right. Okay.
So you had 13, 2, and then Lightning Returns was the finale for that trilogy.
Right. Okay. And then we've got the greatest of all time, Lawn Mowing Simulator. Stunning. That game has like an actual cult following.
Oh, it does. Yeah, dude. I've actually seen gameplay of it as well, and it's so therapeutic to watch. Like, seriously.
I know.
It actually looks like a great time.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, what's next? So up next we've got we spoke about Phil Spencer getting a DICE award a couple of weeks back for contributions to the industry, etc. And he essentially just went on the mic and said, stop weaponizing games for fanboy wars. That was like essentially what was summarized. And you can't, like, every time he gets in front of a microphone, he makes a good effort to like try and like squash any like annoying
toxic
Twitter
behavior.
that's right, like toxic behavior, that's it. And I just think that's really good. Like, we haven't really had someone in the industry who's like done that before. So I'm glad he's just vocal for that, because a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are like idiots. I like, oh god, he's not aggressive enough, or like he's too passive. And it's like, what is this? These are game consoles.
It's like, I think it's actually quite sincere, because I think he just cares about the industry. He just wants it to be the best it can be, and that comes with competitors as well, right? Healthy competition, not toxic competition and stuff like that. You know, there's ways to do it that keep it clean and then keep it fun for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And we've said this before as well. Like he is a gamer, right? Like he does love his games. Like you can tell, and he's very passionate about it. And I think he just wants to clean up the industry. He's like the fucking Batman of the gaming industry. He's just cleaning up the streets.
He's vengeance, yeah.
Yeah. Just puts on a mask at night.
Yeah, that's it.
Fucking breaks all the keyboard warriors' fingers.
Like, yeah, he's got like an Xbox mask. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah, he's a boy. Oh, Philly Spence. I like him.
Instead of batarangs, he's got like little Xbox, like sharp Xbox controllers, like that he throws out like shurikens.
Yeah.
And a little fucking Xbox sign in the air, in the sky, the X light.
What a boy! I love it. It's perfect.
And I did want to give a shout out as well to the team over at Xbox Era, who have got Phil Spencer going on their show for their 100th episode. If anybody from the community or there is listening, wow, you've earned this. I'm very excited for you. We were speaking about like what would we do if we ever got Phil on the show. I mean, obviously, you know, at 19 subscribers, he might have to reschedule his diary. I'd be so nervous.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to fucking talk about, dude. I don't even know what to talk about anyway.
I feel like, what's your favourite food?
Philly cheesesteak. Everyone knows that.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Come on, man.
But I mean, those guys have guests on all the time, so they'll handle it great. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 44 more episodes to up our game and get him on the show. So
yeah,
you know,
if we can be at 10,000 subscribers, that'd be great.
Exactly. Come on, guys, just like the video, share it, and then maybe by 100 we'll get Philly on as well.
Yeah,
do us a favor.
Yeah, 1 like equals 1 Philly cheesesteak.
Basic math.
Yeah, it is. All right. So next up, Xbox Wire. You know, the website that does all the Xbox blog updates and everything. They're launching a Japan website, Xbox Wire Japan, which is, as it says on the tin, I have not much to add other than good. But you know, clearly it's showing the direction that Xbox, they are still wanting to break into Japan, and the sales figures have been pretty good. Still, you know, we've already said that it's already outsold Xbox One by like 30k, and it's obviously only in, you know, the first, what we're in, the second year, first year still, or no, second year, second year of his life cycle, versus 8 years of Xbox One. So you know, it bodes well. It's not going at the same speed that the 360 was, but you know, I think that's frankly to be expected, at least until games start getting cranked out more regularly. But I think, you know, Xbox have needed a channel like this for Japan for a while. So,
yeah, for sure. I don't think it's too much expenditure on their half as well to just dive into this a little bit more and try and increase the community around there. Especially if sales are improving as well. You know, there's a market there as well. So, and with the more, you know, we've been getting more JRPGs on the system and trying to make it a bit more Japan friendly as well and appeal to more people over there. It's just slow but steady improvements and us just getting our foot in the door over there. And yeah, it's just positive for sure.
Big agree. Next up, Age of Empires is getting its first major update of 2022 very soon, and with that also came a lovely little roadmap. Unfortunately, I don't see any console port here, but maybe that's happening under the hood. Nonetheless, all looks really interesting. So Season 1 for Ranked, content editor, tools and mods, lots of challenges, lots of quality of life improvements, and then Season 2, map vote systems, fully remappable hotkeys, more ranked, selection improvements. So yeah, lots of stuff that's kind of lost on me, but nonetheless, clearly the game got off to got off on the right foot and is getting the content it needs. And as I'll keep saying, I'll wait for the day that that gets ported to console.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the game launched good, and you know us, we love a good roadmap, and I'm sure so do a lot of people. People like to know what's coming up, so it's good that they're being so vocal about it so quickly as well.
Yeah,
and yeah, cool, good for them.
Cool, good for them. Great. Okay, so I think if I'm not mistaken, we're down to. Is it our last news story? I think it. Oh, maybe not last. Well, near the end anyway. I'm wondering if I should leave. If we should maybe leave Halo till last, or if we should just do that now. What have we got? No, let's do it now. That's fine. So, for those who haven't already heard, I'm sure you have. 343 did finally say something about they kind of what's happening with season 2. They had initially promised a roadmap by the end of January, and February the first rolled around, and people messaged the team and was like, "Where's the roadmap? What's going on?" And they said, Joseph Staten said, "We are still lining things up and haven't been able to put it together fully." So this happened, this week at the beginning of March. So it was another month delay on that. Clearly, and they speak about this here soon, but clearly things have been slower than they have wanted it to go. In a number of ways. So the too long didn't read of this essentially is that campaign co-op got a very minor delay. They said it won't launch at the beginning of season 2 as intended, but it will still be coming in season 2. Forge is still on track for the beginning of season 3, which hopefully will only be 3 months after season 2. Hopefully they can get into the rhythm of 3 months or quarterly seasons. And with season 2, what they've announced, I guess not just season 2, but what has been put down on the roadmap is 2 new maps, 1 arena, 1 big team battle, 3 new modes. Like one is a remix of returning modes, one's like a elimination style free for all. Can't remember what the other one is. Something newer, I think. Balance changes, they also said, and they said more news to come next month in April. And there's an event that's starting this week, so by the time you hear this, it'll probably already be live. Tactical Ops, with its own free tracker and everything. So, what are your thoughts? There's a lot of really good information, by the way, in this article. So I would really recommend reading it because they kind of give a bit more insight into like their priorities, what's going on, where they're at, in terms of wanting to get more out. But what's your thoughts, Tim, on kind of state of Halo and like this update?
Well, State of Halo, I think we can all agree is quite dry at the moment. So that's pretty quick and easy to touch on that. There hasn't really been any sort of balance changes or sandbox changes or anything like that, really. And with BTB being out of the mix for so long, it kind of felt like we had less of a game for such a long period of time. So it's quite dry, but this update I think is fine. It doesn't have me singing and dancing. It doesn't have me being crazy excited, but it's still new stuff, and it's not like there's a tiny amount. There's not a large amount, but there's not a tiny amount either. It's that sort of like in the middle. 3 new modes. I'm assuming this will be over the course of the season, not just like season 2 starts, you've got 3 new modes. I'm assuming these will be introduced throughout the course of the season, right?
Yeah, I don't know, actually.
I think that's probably how they would do it. And the maps as well. Maybe not the maps, but the modes. I mean, at least this is how I pictured them doing it, based on how they've done it in season 1. But who knows? Maybe they'll just drop it all in one lump sum. I don't know. And so that's nice. 3 new modes is lots of new content if they're done well. Especially being played on the new maps. So that's 2 new maps, right? So it's one arena and 1
BTB.
BTB. That's not fantastic. It's not bad, but just 1 new map per sort of game category, I guess, is it's not fantastic. They kind of drip feed in that, but it's still a welcome change, I guess. I mean, because there are 2 BTB maps at the moment, right? Or is there 3?
There's 3.
Okay, so you're essentially adding like another 25% onto the map, so I guess it's not so bad in the scheme of things.
Imagine if they said that.
But
we're adding 25%
more maps.
Yeah.
So that's pretty poor, and not fantastic. But hey, if they're well designed maps and they're good, I'll play on them. There's so much you can do with these Halo maps. We know how intricate they are to learning and stuff like that. So there's a lot of game time to be said for having a new map added to a pool. And then obviously they're quite vague with balance changes. I think that kind of depends on what that turns into, because balance changes could be anything. It sounds nice, but they could be like the smallest, quite insignificant tweaks that the community isn't really wanting, sort of thing. So it might not actually be as big as you think when they say something like that. It might not actually shake up the meta as much as you perceive it to. But yeah, I'm quite lukewarm on it overall. But the whole new battle pass and stuff like that's intriguing. The new cores look cool. Looks cool. And the theme is quite cool as well when you look at the armor. Like Dex said on the actual article, you can have a look at the armor sets and the new core as well, and they do look pretty cool. So it is worth a look. But overall, I think based on the way I'm reading it and what's coming, I'd give that like a 6.5, 7 on like the hype scale, maybe like a 7.
Yeah,
like it's cool, but it's not blowing me away.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think there's some like funny irony that they've called the season Lone Wolves and then are delaying co-op off the launch of the season. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that, this is just in terms of like content drops that they've so far, and I don't know. I would say it probably is realistic to not expect any more maps for day 1, season 2. Like two sounds right. 1 BTB, 1 arena. Would I have liked more? Like yes, but like there is going to be a new battle pass, like you said, in theme with the armor cores. No, not the armor cores. The armor piece. Well, maybe it is, but the armor pieces that are there, which look sick, and then that other one, which is more like Fallout inspired, the like really beefy one. That's going to be from the ongoing Fracture event that goes on throughout the season, same as the Tenrai. So there's lots of stuff, like obviously, like the stuff that's going to, I'd like to imagine that this battle pass will be quite beefed up. I mean, I quite enjoyed season 1's battle pass. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't, but I quite enjoyed the stuff that was in it. But they've already said that like there are going to be credits in it. There are going to be new effects, this, that, and the other. So that is true as well. And they've also mentioned like gameplay and balance changes. So we'll have to see. And when they share more information next month, it will be interesting to revisit, because I think I'm with you. I'm lukewarm with that. I think it will, once they start putting the marketing tools together, and they start like showing off the new battle pass, what's actually in it and what's in the new map, and oh look, like here's some balance changes to make like this gun better and this equipment better, and maybe there is something else they're looking to add as well, then I'll probably get a bit more into gear. But like looking at this very much from like a list taking standpoint, where I'm like, 2 new maps, 3 new game modes, and some armor, I'm like, that's fine, I guess. But yeah, I think it is. And it's really interesting as well, because of all people, I didn't think I've called him out before. The Act Man on YouTube, who does a lot of Halo videos, recently did a video about kind of like the state of Infinite and everything, and he said that he has, and I don't think he ever has done this before, but he says that he's spoken to a contact he has within 343, who says that, like, firstly, the game is still very much alive. And obviously take this all with a hint of salt, because Ackman is hardly like a source, but he's saying that he has a credible source from within, and that's fine. He's putting his neck on the line. He's quite a big YouTuber by saying this stuff, so I feel like there must be a degree of credibility.
Yeah.
He's saying that the game is still very much alive because people keep posting Steam numbers, which are low. There's no way to put it. The Steam numbers are low. They shouldn't be that low. But Steam was never the primary platform, and supposedly it's still in the hundreds of thousands when all platforms are combined, across the Windows Store, Steam, and all the Xboxes, which are obviously going to be the primary platforms. So I think there is like a little bit of like unnecessary alarmism about Halo's numbers just because people keep drawing on like Steam numbers. But nonetheless, he said that there is lots of stuff like in the works and lots of very exciting stuff that is just, it's in the pipeline. And I think, we've said this before, that it really does feel like 343 are just trying their best to iron everything out to get so that they have like a super sturdy foundation to start putting stuff on. And you can argue like, oh, shouldn't it have been like that on day one? Well, like, yes, but I think this is the give and take of the live service. Not that there has been much of a live service anyway, other than some events here and there. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. As long as they're confident they can pull players back and have some exciting stuff lined up, then by all means, this season hopefully they are able to get it into a place where seasons can be 3 months long, because that's the right cadence. Mate, I want to go back and I want to play that game more. I just want I want firstly more friends, and those friends need more, like more incentives, and obviously I do as well. But you see my point.
Yeah, I think playing the long game isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially with the state of the FPS market as it is. With Call of Duty taking a break, is it this year or is it next year? This year.
No, they're releasing one this year. It's next year. It'll be Modern Warfare 2 this year.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. I guess with Call of Duty, obviously there's still got one releasing, but they have a bit of a break as well. People being not too hot on Call of Duty for a long time now. Battlefield just tanking it so hard. I feel like it's smart to just take your time and to just build a foundation. And I feel like you can pull players back because there's not much else going on in terms of the multiplayer first-person shooter market anyway. And everyone already knows that Halo is crispy, right? Like, they've played it, they've enjoyed it. So I don't know why my laptop just went to sleep. Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still there.
Really weird. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so it's just people have played it and they know what it's like. And I feel like they can be pulled back with the right stuff.
That's right. And I think that is the important thing for the most part. As much as it has been a shame that this has been too slow, even for me. It made a big splash, and I think that's the important thing. Like that big initial splash, I think is going to be enough of a sticking point for a lot of people to come back when another season does launch. You're like, oh, like, sweet, look at all that new armor. Oh, these new maps look cool. Oh, look at those game modes as well. Oh, look, they've rebalanced like the plasma pistol and like, and they've done this, that, and the other. They've made the thrust better, and all of the vehicles are better now as well. And all of this, I think, will start to come together into like a modest. I don't think it's going to be massive because the team aren't epic. And what I mean by that is that they aren't crunching the team into their graves to get content out every week. No. So I think it will be like, if it results in like a modest but exciting package, then people are going to come back, and it's the cadence they need to sort out. Like, if people come back, like, what's going to make people stay? And to be honest, I would say like the biggest thing has been this 6-month wait, because we would be in season, we'd have been in season 2 last month by now, November. So what if they can get that sorted and get that cadence going, then I think that's going to really work for them. And if they need to take an extra month or two to make sure that all those ducks in a row, people will come back. It's just, I think there's a limit of times that people will keep coming back, probably, in terms of that up and down and up and down. So it's just like, once you've got them, make sure you have them for a good period of time. Obviously not forever. We all have lives and need to play other games. But I think that's probably the goal.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Cool. Yep. And I guess what I'll just, because I just saw in the in the screenshots I've taken here the names of the modes. So I just wanted to call them out. Last Spartan Standing, a free-for-all elimination mode, as well as another new mode named Land Grab. That sounds like a BTB mode to me. Plus the return of an updated all-time favorite mode, King of the Hill, which sounds like an arena mode. So I'm interested to see what Land Grab is. Last Spartan Standing kind of sounds like I don't know. That doesn't interest me that much. It's like a mini battle royale, like a free for just one life, free for all rounds.
Yeah, search and destroy kind of thing. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully, there is more for them to talk about next month. Whether that's with the actual reveal of what the patch notes are, or like, if I was being really optimistic, like a new piece of equipment or a new weapon, but I'm kind of doubtful.
I'm surprised they didn't address any like stat trackers or like having a Spartan career.
They did mention it.
Menu like implemented. Oh, okay. All right.
They mentioned it because they spoke about like kind of their priorities and what they're doing, and they spoke about like what those priorities are. And where is it? I was looking at it earlier, but yeah, they essentially said, an example. Of this known hot list issue is Spartan career, aka score-based player progression. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Some items have been addressed and cleared from that hot list. For example, BTB matchmaking. Some have had partial improvements but need more work. For example, anti-cheat. And others are in active development but not yet released, such as Spartan career, campaign co-op, and Forge.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, and I keep saying, because like stuff is like regularly leaking from Forge now, and like there's not loads and loads and loads, but there's like the occasional thing that you watch and you're like, this is going to be nuts. Like I saw someone using a sentinel beam as I don't know how they'd done it, but it was like a gravity gun, like is it Gary's mod or is it Half-Life? What's the gun you can use in that game where you can just like pick stuff up and move it around and plop it down? It's like the really famous. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Portal, is it?
And you can do that.
It's Portal,
but it's not the one. It's not the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Half-Life does that.
There's like a beam that you pick it up with. Anyway, someone did that with the Sentinel beam, and you like clicked on it, and you like moved stuff around, and like he was like building. Obviously, he was in Forge mode, so it kind of makes it redundant. But in terms of like putting that into a game mode, like you could create a whole game with that, like that level of like mechanical depth. Like there's just so. I guess there's
Spartan basketball.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. There's something to be said about like I wonder, and I don't want to like blame the player base here, but like because like they are right, but there is a degree of like the amount of urgency and pressure that the player base put on 343 when the game came out to fix, not fix, but like add shit, kind of broke the game. And let's not the player, like obviously 343 can add things without breaking the game, but there is a degree of like the reason BTB broke is because they did a playlist update because everybody was like, we need free for all SWAT, we need like Fiesta to stay in, and they were like, oh, we're not ready, and it took them like 1 or 2 weeks, and in that time everybody was losing their shit, and then they rushed out the door and BTB broke. And I'm interested if, and then like the other thing we spoke about was like the battle pass. Oh, progression's too slow. Okay, we'll ramp it up. Oh, we finished the battle pass too quickly. Where's all the content? And it's like I'm interested because like, and then people said the same thing about co-op campaign. Like this is number one priority. A co-op campaign needs to be in the game. Like as soon as you can get it in. Maybe Forge should have been priority. Like, 'cause if Forge came out early, then we've got new maps, we've got new mode. Like people are staying in the ecosystem and in the game. And maybe Forge did
I
just
would
need
have rather
longer,
had,
but
I would have rather had Forge over a campaign if you were to give me the option. Obviously, I don't know if it's quite as black and white as that, but if you were to give me the option, I would choose Forge over co-op campaign.
Yeah, I think I would as well, because I think Infinite, obviously I know it, and it's the heritage, that's the problem. I think Infinite worked like perfectly as a single player game. I think it would work great as a co-op, like with a co-op experience as well. But now, like I don't feel like it wouldn't benefit the game as much as a Forge, essentially.
Yeah.
So something to be said about that. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend there hasn't been some mismanagement or mishandling from 343's end here. But yeah, it's worth bearing in mind, because I think sometimes these communities can get so loud and put so much pressure on teams that, like, there's only so much pressure you can put on something before it pops. And I do kind of feel like that happened a little bit with some of the urgency of these changes.
Yeah.
All right then.
Agreed.
Let's move on to our last story of the day. So this is actually really new, and I don't know if any of the other weekend podcasts have spoken about this. And essentially, there is a trademarked IP from Bethesda that was initially coined in 2018, but it's recently been renewed. Or it's had a trademark application filed. So this comes from Skullsy on Twitter, popular leaker, rumor, speculator, etc., etc. So they're saying Spyteam, a secret Bethesda game that seems to have been in the works for some time now, recently had its trademark application filed for 2022. From my understanding is that there has been maybe speculation about this since 2018. And when we're talking about what this means or who's doing it, they're potentially looking at Roundhouse Studios. Roundhouse Studios used to be Human Head, and they were working in 2018 on a PvPvE third-person shooter based on a major comic license. Obviously, we don't know if this is like that got canned or if this is it, but the timelines line up for that. So, and we have heard from like other outlets that this is going to be quite a big Bethesda year in terms of releases and announcements. So we could potentially see something from Roundhouse in the form of Spyteam. What does that game, like, what major comic license could Spyteam be in reference to? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
So it's almost a bit of a campy name, isn't it?
So,
Spyteam.
Yeah, so that's what the game is theoretically called. Spyteam.
Yeah, well, possibly, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
It's to do with a game at the very least.
And it's a comic book license. And it's been in the works since 2018. So it's had a good four years development.
Yeah. A major
potentially
license, allegedly. Yeah, potentially, yeah, been in, yeah, so 4 years at least.
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting, yeah. I mean, at what point in the game's life cycle when something gets trademarked? Is that's quite late in its cycle? Like, I don't understand the whole.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
the whole sort of length.
Yeah, well, from my understanding is that, like, you obviously want to coin it as early as you can, but you don't know. You might not know what the game's called until a certain point. So it might have only, and once you know what the game's called, that's when you start making assets in terms of UI or stuff in game, etc. So at that point, it's like, okay, we need to get, because we don't want to lose this and have to redo all the assets. So yeah, it does sound like a little bit on the late end, but maybe this is a sign that it's coming together, like maybe coming into like an alpha playable state sort of thing, because they've kind of figured out what it is, what the gameplay loop is. And essentially what it's going to be called. It could definitely be an indication of that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it sounds very interesting. I mean, it is pure speculation. It could just not be this in any way, and a trademark for just an early, like you said, a very early game could have been made, and this game could still be years off. Who knows? But I'm a big fan of a PvPvE genre.
It's
I
quite
think
underused.
Quite a few games. Yeah. I think there's quite a few games that I've enjoyed that have done it quite well. So I'd be quite interesting to see how that works. To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Very interesting.
I would think that this isn't, because I think we think comic license and everybody's mind jumps to like Marvel or superhero stuff, but I bet it's probably something else that it says major, but obviously I'm not like big on comics, so I can't think of any major things, but. This is sounding more like DC level. What's What's that film called? What's the film called by Zack Snyder? The first like popular DC film, and it had that big blue guy in it. What's that film called?
The big blue guy.
Yeah, he's a blue guy. He gets zapped by electricity, and he's blue and naked, and he floats around, and he's like,
Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah, thank you. It sounds Spyteam, just as a name, sounds like something more in line with that. I guess maybe it's just Watchmen, Spyteam. I don't know. It sounds like something more aligned with like grounded DC comic kind of direction, doesn't it? It's not like Iron Man fighters or it's not shit like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
potentially. I mean, you say grounded, you just described the blue man who got zapped by lightning.
No, but that's why. Well, I suppose that is true. But like for that's like as far as that comic goes. Like for the most part.
Yeah,
Ross Ash and then the rest are like pretty grounded. But you'll have to wait and see. I'm interested in like a PvP genre, and like for the rest of the job listing, what else has been said here is assumed lead programmer role and continued developing project through alpha, worked on all gameplay systems from player movement, weapons, status effects, game modes, and many other areas, including networking optimization and all AI for a variety of creatures in the world. Maybe not so grounded.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it does seem Bethesda have like a fair bit in their pocket because there really isn't much
going on.
Yeah, there isn't much out there about like what Bethesda are doing. It's all quite secretive, other than the obvious what we already know about. But they have like 7 teams. They're doing something. I mean, we know Arcane Leon just wrapped up with Deathloop, and we know that Tango are doing Ghostwire. But there's still another Arcane team. There's still Machine Games. There's Roundhouse, obviously. ZeniMax, we know, are doing something else, supposedly with a big license. So, there's lots going on here. We've got to see it at some point. So, I hope Xbox have a lot of time to show you this, like all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, Bethesda is like our little baby, so
that's right.
Hopefully, we'll give them the limelight to show it all off.
Hopefully.
But yeah.
Cool. That's Spyteam. Let's not say more about that. So, I mean, that is everything from us today, ladies and gents. Is there anything else you want to add today, Tim, before we wrap up and go and get lost in the lands between again?
No. I want to go get lost in the lands between. No, I'm pretty sure we covered everything. I don't really have anything to add, per se. So, yes, I'm good to wrap up.
Great. All right, then. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. We will catch you probably next week for episode 47. We're coming up to a year, man. We're coming up to a year.
We'll be doing this for longer than a year, haven't we?
Well, it's 52 weeks in a year. I guess we have missed weeks here and there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess
we're coming up to our 52nd episode. I guess is the point.
Yeah, it's quite crazy.
It's pretty mad. So thanks for sticking with us. If you've been a subscriber, give us a like, give us a share, hit us up in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.